There are a few different modeling situations that we may encounter. First one can be considered a what-if analysis. We observe how changes to selected variables affect other variables. For example, what happens to the sales if advertising were decreased by 20%? Second situation would be called sensitivity analysis, where we observe how repeated changes to a single variable affect other variables. For example, let's try to increase advertising by $1,000 and see what happens. And then let's do it again and see what the relationship exists as we increase advertising once more. We've looked at these, and we're going to look at a third one now called goal seeking. In goal seeking, we make repeated changes to selected variables until a chosen variable reaches a target value. For example, let's increase advertising until sales reach a pre-selected value. We set a target value, which is called a goal, and we see how it can be reached. You can specify the results. Excel changes input values in order to help you obtain those results. Goal seeking starts with the end result, which we'll call the formula, and determines what value you should use to reach a desired answer. Okay, now I've been doing a lot of talking. Let's see how we can apply this to a simple example. The example we're going to look at is how can you obtain an A in a course given the test results that you have obtained so far. So let's take a look. Our friend has done homework and taken 2 exams. The homeworks and the exams have been weighted. That means that one may count more than the other. We'll fill this in a minute. What we have now is that on the homeworks, the score was an 89, and the first exam was an 85, and the second exam was a 94. The weights have been determined by the professor that the homeworks will count 50% of the grade. The first exam was 10%, the second exam 15%, and the third 25%. We create what's called a weighted score, which is just the product of the weight times the score. So the weighted score, as you can see, for the first one is C6 times D6. And we can copy this down for all the others as well. So we have the following result. We'll soon change this back to numeric data. Let's also sum up those 4 rows, and we can do this easily, as you remember, just by pressing the auto sum. Let's now change back to the numeric data by holding down the control key and the squiggle key, and this is what we have so far. The individual has a 61.1 going into the final. The question is, what has to be obtained on the final in order to hopefully get an A? Is that possible or not? This is where goal seeking comes into play. To find out, we begin by placing our cursor in cell E11. We choose data from the top, and we go across the screen until we find what if. We click the down arrow, and one of the choices there is goal seek. Click on goal seek, and we have to fill in now 2 values. It says set cell, and we have our cursor in that cell so we don't have to type it in. Set cell E11 to value, and in this course to get an A we have to get a 91. Let's set value to 91 by changing. Now how are we going to accomplish that? Only by changing cell C9. Okay, so the question is, what do we have to get on the final in order to get a 91? Let's say OK, click on that, and in a matter of seconds we now see in order to get an A in the course we need a 95.6. If we cancel and we say, well, that's too high for us, maybe we need only a B or B plus, we can go through goal seek again, this time by changing it to a different value and to see what score we would need in that case. So what we've seen is that we apply goal seek in the following situation. If you know the result that you want from a formula, but are not sure what input value the formula needs to get that result, we would use goal seek. An example in business would be you need to borrow money, you know how much money you want, you know how long you want to take to pay off the loan, and how much you can afford to pay each month. You can use goal seek to help you determine the interest rate you need to secure in order to meet your goal. One point to be aware of, goal seek works only with one variable input value. If you do have two input values, you have to use another technique, which is in the add-ins in Excel, which is called solver add-in.